Hello, this is Fear Dragon, and welcome to Breaking Out, the show about North American StarCraft 2 players. Here on this show, we spend 1 week highlighting an up-and-coming North American player. Throughout the week, we find out more about the player's history, their personality, and their playstyle over the course of 6 short episodes. On Monday, we'll interview the player and find out more about them. Tuesday through Thursday, we'll watch a game from each of the various matchups casted by your very own Fear Dragon. On Friday, we'll check out a generally awesome game with some sick play, and on Saturday, we'll kick it back with the player and have some wacky fun with some randomly selected events like handicap ladder matches, karaoke, and dance contests. Each episode aims to be about 20 to 30 minutes long, so you can learn more about the North American StarCraft 2 scene without interrupting your busy WCS schedule. Thanks so much for watching, and I hope you enjoy the show. Hello, and welcome to Breaking Out, the show about North American StarCraft 2 players. My name is Fear Dragon, and today I'm joined here with Clarity Gaming's SaroVati on the Saturday Funday. How are you doing today, SaroVati?
I'm doing really good. We've done a few reruns. That's probably the best response I've done. Really good.
Yeah.
But again, yeah.
We're just gonna keep rolling, man. We're just gonna keep rolling.
Yeah. All right.
All right.
That being done aside, I'm feeling pretty good. I knew that was gonna happen at some point, but yeah, I'm ready for the fun day. It's like I've had 3 fun days now, so
Every day is a fun day with me, man.
Exactly.
Every day is a fun day. So for those of you who do not know, and it's probably all of you, SaroVati and I have done this 2 times now. This is our 3rd attempt. The first time we had audio issues, the second time we had video issues, and this time we're cutting our losses, okay? But at least this time we actually have a very, very clear looking SaroVati. The audio is all looking good, and you know what? We're just gonna kind of move on from this. So, all right. What we're basically going to do over here is, first we're going to talk a little bit about Breaking Out, which is, again, it's a show about North American StarCraft 2 players. We spend 1 week highlighting one of these players of an up-and-coming North American talent, such as SaroVati. SaroVati, an absolutely amazing Protoss player. One of my favorites, actually. I like to consider him and call him like the TLO of Protoss, because he just comes up with so many crazy, awesome, innovative builds. And, you know, we did an interview over on Monday, Tuesday through Thursday. We kind of covered each one of the matchups, and we're actually going to be spending some time talking about that a little bit later on. And then Friday, of course, we just watched an awesome game from SaroVati, but honestly, they were all pretty awesome. So it's actually hard to call that game awesome, except for the fact that it was even more awesome. So with that being said, Saturday is the fun day, and that means that we get to normally have some fun. And that could come in the form of just playing some random fun custom games with the handicaps or karaoke or anything. But, you know, SaroVati's feeling a little bit sick, so we're going to go easy on him, all right? We're going to just let him teach me some dance moves. And because we've already done some earlier takes, even though we had some audio issues, we're just going to go ahead and play that back for you. So you can go ahead and take a look as SaroVati tries to teach me how the heck to dance. And it's a pretty awesome dance move called the Wave. So check it out over here, guys.
Yep.
Today is Saturday, and Saturday is my favorite day of the week because that means that we just get to have fun. And this fun is only going to be fun for me and the viewers, all right? Because SaroVati here has to teach me how to dance, right? So SaroVati has been preparing his dance moves, getting them ready, and SaroVati, are you ready for this?
I can't say I am, but I'll try my best.
All right. So I'm just going to tell everyone how this is going to go. First, we're going to go through, and SaroVati's going to show us what moves we're going to be looking at today, and then he's going to try and spend some time dealing with me, who's incredibly uncoordinated. I once tried to ladder once, and I got placed into Wood League, and then Blizzard banned my Battle.net account because they said, we detected that you broke your monitor trying to press the Chrono Boost button on your keyboard. And we just can't have, you know, you breaking monitors like that. I'm just that uncoordinated. So, SaroVati, good luck to you.
I'll need it. I definitely will.
All right, but with that being said, SaroVati, why don't you go ahead and show us what your dance moves are to the song that you've picked out. Let's go ahead and get this started.
So, the song, since we're going StarCraft related, picked a StarCraft related song for those Brood War players. You'll know what it is. I'm not really going to dance to the song. It's just going to be background music. You need some background music for this stuff. So I haven't actually danced in like a few months. I actually do hip hop dancing. But right now, I'm going to teach Fear Dragon just something. I'm going to teach you something really simple. Viewer, something really simple. But then we're going to add some StarCraft moves at the end, okay? So what I'm actually going to teach you right now is how to wave. And this is just going to be an arm wave. And you're going to do this, you're going to master it. You're going to go to the club, you're going to do it. And the ladies will just be all over you, okay? Like, that's the end of the story.
I'm game for this, man. I'm excited for this.
All right, so I'm going to judge how much space I have, so. Okay, so I'm going to first teach you basic steps for an arm wave, okay?
Okay.
We're going to get into this. We're going to go full teacher mode over here, okay? So what you're going to do is you're going to stick your arm out like this, and there's going to be 3 steps for the arm. It's going to be down one, which is just your wrist. You're going to bring your elbow in, and then your shoulder up, and that's it, okay?
Okay.
So it's wrist, elbow, shoulder, and that's it, okay? Sounds really simple. Isn't actually that simple. I'm going to warn you right now. It's really awkward to do it at the start. But when you do it fast enough and smooth enough, it'll look like an arm wave. So what you're going to learn in you're going to be doing in like 5 minutes is you're going to wave in and then go out the other way. Okay? And I know there's not that much room, so I'm going to be like moving my body too, but it's just going to look like a wave in and a wave out. Okay?
Okay.
That's it. That's what you're going to learn.
This sounds good, all right? Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and turn back on my camera so SaroVati can actually see me as well.
Okay.
And can you actually see me? I don't think you can. Give me a second. Alright, welcome back, guys. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that, as unfortunately we didn't have the audio, so you guys didn't get to hear SaroVati's amazing way of putting everything together. He put everything in terms that I think that everyone could relate to, but maybe we'll do that again some other time, and SaroVati can release an entire web series on how to do awesome hip-hop dance moves. But with that being said, SaroVati, let's talk a little bit about the games that you actually sent to me to actually be casted throughout the week. So let's just start off one by one. Moving on from Tuesday, we had a Protoss versus Zerg against Evil Genius's Suppy, who's a fantastic American player. A lot of people know him, but tell us about that game on Akalon Waste.
All right. So again, I got to go through the background information before I talk about this game. So me and Suppy, we practiced a lot, PvZ. Going up to WCS America, he was in a group with Oz, and obviously he couldn't practice with, other EG members because, they're all teammates. So we did a bunch of practice games, and what we did was we did like a map 5 or 6 times, and then we switched maps, and we did another 5 or 6 games. So I remember I had an awesome game because I was supposed to send you some pretty good games, back and forth action. I had an awesome game on Akalon. I spawned top left for one of the times. And I did the gateway expanded to Stargate and 3 base. So I was like, this is the replay where I go and I attack him, and in the one I was thinking of, he had infestors and lings, and it was like back and forth. I was dodging fungals and stuff, and then it was until he got ultras, but I transitioned to immortals already. I had like 6 immortals when he attacked me, and it was all sorts of great stuff. But the one I actually sent you is different, but we're going to talk about that different game. So the PvZ I sent you in Akalon, it was kind of, it's one of my normal styles of builds, and it's just because anyone who knows me knows I really dislike mutas. Like, I dislike them with a passion. But this build is designed to kill muta, flat out. Like, that is the only goal of this build, but at the same time, it works very well against Roach Hydra. So what I do is this build in an overview before I start talking about the intricacies of it, is it's a +2 timing at around 13 minutes with about 12 to 13 gates on 3 bases and blink stalkers. And that's it. Just blink stalkers. You open Phoenix and you go into blink stalker. So it's like as anti-muta as you can get. But yeah, so I took a fast third in this game. It's generally one of the norms in PvZ. The one way Zerg can stop a fast third, if they immediately scout it with their Overlord or a Zergling, they can just drop a Roach Warren. They can make like 10 roaches and then flood you with speedlings and kill the third. But what my build does is it gets out the Phoenix. So ideally, I clear out every single Overlord with the Phoenixes before I drop the third. And my Mothership Core, which is out, cleans up every Zergling trying to get to the scouting information of my third. So in this game, I don't think it happened, but Subby didn't decide to try to kill the fast third. And that's also because I went Stargate. So because I went Stargate, if he did drop a Roach Warren, I would immediately just start making Void Rays, and that's it. Because he'd come, he'd attack, he'd probably kill my third still, but I'd kill his entire army for, like 600 minerals of the Nexus, a cannon, a couple pylons, whatever. So that would have been favorable for me. So I think that's why Suppy didn't do it. But for the meat of the game, because it wasn't really the right replay, there's only one big engagement. But I tried to abuse the cool part of this build, which is the ability to force and engage wherever you want, and ideally wherever you need it to be. So you have about 10-ish sentries with a lot of energy for this build, and you have a Mothership with 2 Time Warps, and you have a bunch of Phoenix flying around with Blink Stalkers. So for the timing itself, you have +2 weapons, and with Guardian Shield, because you have so many sentries, versus Roach Hydra, you will always have 2/2/2 upgrades, compared to a Zerg, who will most likely have 2/2 at best. Ideally, they'll have 1/1, but that differs from Zerg build to Zerg build. So I have 2/2/2, so I have good upgrades, and I have only ranged units, sentries and stalkers and blink stalkers. So when I section off some units, I will always be able to kill those units without losing, zealots walking up and getting shot by the guys in the back. So in this game, you saw I was on Akalon. I had my Phoenixes scout where his army was, so I knew his army position. And my Mothership Core also knew where his army was. So he moved in down to his 4th base. And as soon as I saw that, and I saw he had a higher concentration of units in his 4th base, I went, okay, I have Blink Stalker, so I immediately blinked to his natural, Time Warped twice. So it was he had to run through Time Warps to get back force fielded, and from that point it was just a super good engage for me, and he was just overwhelmed. So that's the ideal. That's kind of how the build goes.
Yeah, and I actually thought that was the super coolest part of that, is that you pull his entire army down to that 3rd expansion, and Suppy's kind of like, okay, well, I have to gear up, get ready, because it's going to be coming through those that little narrow choke over there, and I get a big concave over there. And then you just kind of come in with the Mothership Core, and it's like time warp, force fields, boom, and then you're over at the natural expansion, and you just it's just the straight kill from there. So that was actually really, really cool to see, and just kind of, I guess, moving right along, since I guess we won't spend too much time on that, since you said it wasn't the actual replay you meant to send. But don't worry, we have another PvZ that we'll talk about later, and let's move on to the PvT, which was, oh my god, insane aggression. This says a lot about Kawhi Rice as a player, because it was a Protoss versus Terran against Kawhi Rice, and he was doing absurd amounts of aggression. Drops going down over your main base, while you had squadrons of units moving into the your 4th expansion, while he also tried to move in with a Marine and a Marauder and a Medevac over to your 3rd, and then it says even more about you as a player, being able to not only deal with all that harassment, but being able to continuously pick off the medevacs, because Kawhi Rice was like trying to run Obamacare, but it's working about as well as Obamacare is right now. Hey, shots fired.
Yeah, I mean, that game, if anyone watched it, I actually played the first 15, 20 minutes quite far behind. So I personally am surprised I actually won it, but that's probably due to the type of strategy I chose in the mid game. So what happened in that game was Kawhi Rice opened Reaper, and I saw he was really low on tech. Well, that didn't make any sense. He didn't have much tech out. And how I saw this was, obviously, A, he opened Reaper and I was pressuring him and I was seeing, if he dropped a factory or not. And B, when he did the Widow Mine plus Marine drop, that signaled to me that, first of all, that timing for Widow Mine Marine drop, it was super late compared to, a rushed Widow Mine Marine drop. But at that point, I was like, okay, he didn't open 1-1-1 for fast Widow Mines. He went Reaper. And then he probably goes for Stim right after. So it was that type of Terran build. And with that type of Terran build, their starport comes out later than usual. And most of the time, it does not have a reactor on it. So I was like, okay, I will make Colossus. I will rush to Colossus. I'll make a lot of Colossus, because if he doesn't have enough medevacs and he has to start making Vikings, I know a way to exploit that. And how I decided to do that was also go for Blink Stalkers. So I had a ridiculously late third compared to his. That's why I was so far behind, and I was so far behind worker-wise too. But I knew with Blink Stalkers, I could pick off all the Vikings and have an overwhelming number of Colossi, because I was chrono boosting that out almost 100% of the time. So I had 6, 7 Colossi at one point, or 4 or 5. And he only had 5 or 6 Vikings, something like that. So what I did was I made Blink Stalkers, I made Colossus, and then that kind of worked out well, because there's a kind of synergy between Blink Stalkers and Colossus where it's not so much a synergy between your units, but it's a synergy between how your units interact with your opponent's units. So the Terran, because they're forced to make so many Vikings, can't have that many medevacs. So that's why when my Blink Stalkers, if you see in the game, I will always move out with my Blink Stalkers whenever I can and just attack his army a couple times. So you saw I probably lost 4 or 5 Blink Stalkers doing this, and I killed 1 Marauder, 1 Marine. But the point is that I forced a Stim out of his army 4 or 5 times. And when you force an army to Stim 4 or 5 times and then we have 3 medevacs, those 3 medevacs are absolutely useless, and the engage when you have your Colossus with you will go so much better. So that was kind of the plan I had going into it. And after we got to 3 base, there was an SCV pull. It got kind of scrappy, but in the end, I came out on head, so it was a pretty good game.
Yeah, that was actually a super awesome and amazing game. And oh my god, hold on, my webcam is actually completely cut off, so I'm going to go ahead and get that up. But, I really, really liked that game just because you also had this crazy, crazy idea where it was I've never heard of a situation where someone says, well, yeah, I traded units for energy, and I come out ahead on that. I'm actually okay with it. That is the coolest thing ever. So really awesome to see that kind of stuff coming out. But, moving right along, let's kind of talk a little bit about that PvP versus Estrella. And that PvP was on Belcher Vestige, I think, where you kind of went Blink Stalker against a robotics facility player. And man, I had to tell you, you had the most ballsy blink up on top of an Immortal and just moved straight into Estrella's main base. And I mean, how exactly do you know when it's okay to blink up and be super aggressive with your Blink Stalkers, especially against a Robo player who has Immortals that could have another one popping out at any moment? Versus you need to stay back and just kind of do what aggression you can while you kind of expand and whatnot behind it.
Okay, so I'm going to give the basic breakdown of early game, mid game PvP to make sure you kind of know where you are after the early mid game. And it's one of the toughest parts of PvP because there's a lot of limited information, so you kind of have to extrapolate from what you got. But that game, I probe scout, and I was planning on doing 1 gate blink, which is really, really fast blink. And my timings were lined up so that I would have 2 warp-ins right at the same time my blink finished. So I'd have 8 stalkers. In that game, he did a bit of pressure, so I couldn't hit him immediately, but I was still pretty quick with the blink. So early game PvP, I probe scouted. I saw 2 gas, but I also saw 2 gates go down. So when 2 gates go down, it's almost 99% 3 stalker rush. So I knew with my build, with a 1 gate opener, I would not be able to keep map control against 3 stalkers.
I see. Are you actually still with us, SaroVati?
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah,
sorry. Looks like we had a little bit of video pausing, so I wasn't sure.
Little
Keep going.
Yeah, so yeah, I knew I couldn't get mid-game map control, but so I just used my stalkers and my mothership core to scout around, make sure there was any proxy pylon, so it wouldn't be a 3-gate or 4-gate. And then I tried to, keep my stalkers out there and stop a proxy pylon from happening, because I knew once I got blink, that was my key to being aggressive against a 2-gate player, because his tech will be delayed and we'll kind of be even on units after 3 gates kick in. So he decided to pressure. I had to fall back. I had a photon overcharge ready. I didn't want to blow it for whatever reason, and he was obviously scared. He saw just 2 stalkers, so from his point of view, it could be DT, because I do not have sentries and I don't have an overwhelming amount of units. So I think it was smart for him to pull back. But at the same time, once my gates kicked in, I moved out. I moved across the map, and I saw he had an expansion, but it was a delayed expansion. So in PvP, a delayed expansion is very rare. Mostly it's a DT expand, or it's Oracle expand, or it happens after one opponent does 3-gate pressure, and then they expand and add robo. So I knew it was kind of one of those builds, and for sure was not blink. So I started pressuring his natural with my blink stalkers, and then we started doing a few skirmishes. I think it was a kind of a mistake from his part. He had to save his nexus, but I think he could have waited, 15 seconds longer. But we had a few skirmishes. I killed like 3 or 4 stalkers. I think I lost 1, which is sloppy on my part, but you have to abuse.
Looks like we're having a couple issues, guys. We will be back as soon as we get them resolved, so please stick around, and we'll be right back. Alright, guys, and we're back. Sorry about that, but SaroVati was actually just explaining about his PvP, and, he was talking a little bit about his blink stalker play. So you were kind of saying something about, it was a little bit sloppy that you were losing some of your stalkers, but you had to be aggressive, and so I just pick it up from there.
Okay. So from that point, I was pressuring with blink stalkers, but at the same time, I knew it was a relatively late expansion, so he would not have that many immortals out. So I decided to warp in 3 zealots and then attack, because he was mainly sentry and immortal heavy, and both of those units do not do much DPS to zealots. So I warped in 3 zealots. I walked in with my blink stalkers, and the moment I saw an immortal on his ramp, I immediately blinked onto it, because I knew the rest of his army was sectioned off by the zealots. I killed it. From then on, there's a little bit of fighting happened. I killed his other immortal. I killed a bunch of his units. But at that point, I think I had a pretty good lead. But the reason I sent this replay was not because of the early blink play. I mean, that's pretty standard. A lot of people have seen early blink play. But the more to show the push, and the push that comes afterwards, the timing. And the timing that you guys saw me do was an 8-gate 2 Archon drop in his main charge lot attack at his front. So I'm going to expand briefly on that and why I think it's really interesting and really strong in PvP. Nothing a Protoss has can kill Archons cost efficiently or supply efficiently. The only thing that can kill Archons efficiently is micro in the form of ranged units kiting. So if you drop in their main, they're forced to micro only one side. If they micro the front, they can survive against the charge lots, but they'll die in their main. If they micro in the main, my charge lots will kill them in the front. So that was kind of the idea of the build, and it's just super strong when you drop 2 Archons in their main, warp in 8 Zealots, because you'll almost always have more production than your opponent at this point, and then overwhelm them. So it's a really strong push. I don't think I've lost with it yet when I've done it. And unless you're super, super far behind in the game, it'll almost always do a lot of damage. So that was why I sent the build. And that was a bit of summary of that PvP game.
Yeah, that was actually like the most amazing thing when I finally put it together. I was kind of thinking like, well, he has a Warp Prism with 2 Archons. I've never seen this before. And yeah, exactly as you said, like, what are you going to do? Warp in Zealots to try and defend? Well, I mean, Zealots are going to get dismantled by Archons. And what do you, I mean, make Sentries? Nobody's going to try and defend against Archons with Sentries. Can you imagine their little Guardian Shield is like, I reduced 2 of your, like, 40 damage. Awesome. I'm going to die in, like, no less hits. And then there's, like, Stalkers, which, as you said, like, they're nice, but only if you're kiting. And if you're also pushing at the front, it's like brilliant. There's no way that they can defend, or unless they have like amazingly godlike micro that they're able to micro on 2 fronts. So that was actually like super cool to see. And I mean, if that wasn't enough, you have Charge Zealots warped in with a Warp Prism. So it's like, well, no matter what, the Charge Zealots are going to get hits off even on Stalkers trying to kite. So that's like so cool. I'm definitely 100% going to be incorporating that into my games from now on.
Yeah, it's a very strong build.
Yeah. And I'm like not doing justice to this because, you know, SaroVati's actually already explained this to me again, guys. This is like the second take, but this like idea is so cool. Please, guys, go try this stuff out for yourself. I mean, it's awesome, and be sure to check out the games if you haven't. But with that being said, we have one last game to cover, and that was another rematch game against Evil Genius's Suppy. So why don't you tell us a little bit about that? Because there's some pretty cool stuff going on in that one.
All right. So when I was playing Suppy, he was telling me, he was like, I don't want to blind counter you because that's not going to help anyone. So he was trying to scout all the time, but I just told him, you know, I'll do different builds every time. Like, you don't have to worry about that. So this came on Whirlwind. I decided I wanted to do Sky Toss, but at the same time, I want to add a twist to it just because Whirlwind is such a big map and it's 4 players. So based off our spawn locations, I decided I was going to take a proxy base. Spoiler. But so I took a proxy base in the bottom left while I spawned top right, and he was top left. So the point of the proxy base is it's kind of twofold. So one, in a best of 7, best of 9, I like to mix a build like this in because the moment they realize that you are ballsy enough to take a proxy base, every game after that they'll be forced to scout for proxy bases whenever they don't know exactly what's going on, and that's so powerful in, you know, disrupting their mental game and at the same time, you know, getting little edges for yourself. So that was kind of why I wanted to do it, but also I wanted to showcase one of Protos's new ways of playing, quote unquote. In Wings of Liberty, Zerg could take a proxy hatch because, you know, if they had a queen there, they could just inject larvae and they could get like 10 larvae in like 2 minutes, like a minute, right? And they could drone up that base, but it's also really useful for Mew to play and whatnot. Terran can just have a proxy orbital, drop a couple mules, it'll instantly pay for itself. Like, Terran is probably one of the easier races to take proxy bases for, just because if things go bad, you could obviously just like lift it, float it away, or don't even lift it. It's just a mineral investment anyways. But Protoss and Wings of Liberty couldn't do any of that. Your army was relatively immobile, and at the same time, you know, pro production would be really slow, and it would take like 3 or 4 minutes for the base to pay off for itself. And at the same time, if they attacked it and killed it, you would lose every single probe there too. So it was a huge investment, and most of the time not worth the risk. In Heart of the Swarm, however, we have the Mothership Core. So if you saw in the game, I actually gathered a bunch of probes together and I recalled to the bottom left base, and I mined from that. So it's a cool way to utilize hidden bases for Protoss, and at the same time, it's relatively safe. Like, contrary to what people might think, if he scouted that base, my Mothership Core was there for about 30 seconds to a minute, but I could have recalled all the probes back, which in hindsight I probably should have left it there, but at the same time, you don't want to tip the Zerg off, and he'd be like, oh, where's your Mothership Core? Clearly you have a hidden base. So it's kind of a balance between that, but if he goes and attacks that in the bottom left corner, I can go in and attack his 3rd or his 4th or his recently mining base with my army, and his army will be completely out of position. And if I have my Mothership Core with my army, I can just recall back. So there's a lot of cool things you can do, and it's definitely really, really good to mix into any Protoss's play. Just builds like this and abusing recall as much as you can. So
Yeah, and actually one of my favorite parts about this was kind of what you were saying the last time we talked, which was, you do something like this, you hide an expansion, and you do this like once in like say a best of 7 or like a best of 9, and it's like every single game after that, they're going to be scouting around and being like, okay, did he take a proxy expansion? Did he take something? He's going to be playing extra safe, and those are the kind of advantages that you take advantage of in the next game, and you do something completely different. So that's just I think that it was a great game to show because it just highlights how scary your style is. It's like nobody can predict you, and
that's one of the styles I try to model myself after. Just being unpredictable, making sure the opponent can't cut any corners. So if I do lose to someone, they have to cover all their bases, and that means they have to be a pretty great player. So I try to play that style, and it's been working out for me here. So it's really cool.
That's awesome to hear, man. That kind of style is also a lot of fun to watch. So guys, please be sure that you actually check out Clarity Gaming SaroVati's games in the future. He plays in a lot of different things, and you didn't quite actually manage to go for WCS America, and you're excused for that because you didn't actually get to play in the qualifiers. You're of course busy with school and whatnot. I mean, What can you do? You're forgiven this time, but next time I expect you to go ahead and get into Challenger League, and eventually I want to see Suppy on one side of the finals bracket, you on the other side, and you guys butt heads in the finals. So
all right, and sounds good. sounds like it'll happen.
I believe in you, man. I believe in you. But with that being said, SaroVati, thank you so much. It's been wonderful to have you on this week. Where can people find you at?
They can find me twitter.com/csarovati, twitch.tv/sarovati, and hopefully the quality is as good as the webcam is right now, because I know before, like in the interview on Monday, I looked like a Minecraft character. I was like, there's like 16 like squares, and
we actually saw chat bubbles above your head whenever you said something.
Exactly. But you can follow my team, facebook.com/claritygaming, I think. Twitter.com/clarity_gaming.
Yes.
I don't know. You're very good at
I double checked this.
So that's really good. You can follow my team. And big thanks to you for having me on this show. It's a great show. It's promoting a bunch of NA players. So it's really good. Our NA scene has gotten a boost. We've got a couple new players in WCS America who are regulars on the high end of ladder, who I play pretty often. So that's really cool. And this show really highlights a bunch of really good players. So you guys, you should follow this show. You should check it out. You should follow him and follow the show. And, everyone wins. Esports wins. Everyone wins. So.
Well, thank you so much for that, SaroVati, actually. And again, it's been wonderful to have you on. Please, guys, go check him out and keep an eye on him for the future because, I mean, I have actually talked with a lot of like other big name players, and they say like SaroVati, he's one of those names. It's like, why don't people know more about him? And he's going to be shining, guys. Please be on the lookout for him. But with that being said, thank you again, SaroVati, for also plugging my own show, Breaking Out. And if you guys actually enjoyed this, please go ahead and give a follow over on Twitch, over at twitch.tv/FearDragon64 or youtube.com/FearDragon64 for the VODs. They're pretty much uploaded almost immediately after the episode airs. And of course, if you actually want to just follow me on Twitter, you can also do that at FearDragon64. FearDragon64 is pretty easy to remember. It's Fear Dragon and then Nintendo 64, like the 64, because everyone knows that was the best system. It had StarCraft on it. It had StarCraft on it. What more could you want?
Exactly.
Maybe StarCraft 2.
Exactly.
StarCraft 2 64. StarCraft 256.
Oh. Now we're getting fancy.
All right. Dustin Browder, get on that. But with that being said, it's been wonderful to have you on, SaroVati, and this is going to be the time that I'll announce who we're going to have on for next week's show. That's going to be airing on Monday at 9 p.m. Pacific. It is going to be Root Gaming's Arium. He's a part of the Root Gaming Seed Academy. He's a very, very young 14-year-old player, and he is playing at like the tip-top level right now in North America. So please be on the lookout for that, and it's going to be awesome. So hopefully you guys will decide to tune in for that. Again, that's going to be 9 p.m. Pacific on Monday. The show airs Monday through Saturday, so we'll be covering all the different matchups and basically doing the same deal that we did with SaroVati. But again, if you haven't seen all of this week's shows, go ahead and check it out over at youtube.com/FearDragon64. We have an interview. We have all these games that we talked about. And if you haven't seen them before, now you get the chance to watch it with all of this awesome knowledge of like, this is what SaroVati was actually doing. And you get to see the actual brilliance of it, because I know I'm going to be going back and rewatching a ton of this. So thank you everyone for tuning in. Thank you SaroVati for coming on, and have a wonderful night, guys.